Hey Freightskills, welcome to another video. And in this video, we're going to talk about broker agent splits. What is the right split for a brokerage agent? Because you need to come up with something that is going to be profitable for you, but also in the best interests financially of the agent, right? If the agent feels overworked and underpaid, they're not going to perform for you. And if you're overworked and underpaid, your brokerage is going to go out of business. So I'm going to give you the lowdown on what I recommend, and it's just my personal opinion and how we run things about how the structures and splits should be done with agents. But before we get into that, if you get any value from this channel at all, if you've ever watched any of my videos, it would really mean a lot to me if you like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the freight broker updates we put out on a weekly basis. I just checked my stats the other day, and I think over 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel, which is pretty crazy, but really cool that the message is getting out there to a lot of people. So just join the minority, go against the grain, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out, it helps you out, and it will help out a lot of other people. So now let's get right into broker agent splits, what I think about them, what you should do. And again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just gonna try to make some practical sense as to why the current models that are out there being touted as the best broker agent programs aren't so great. So first, let's get into broker agent splits. Before we get into any kind of numbers or anything, a broker agent split is dependent on the value exchange between the broker and the agent. Now let's put that in English. Whoever has more to give the other should get a bigger piece of the pie. Now, what do I mean by this? If the broker has a full back office, accounting team, a perfect credit score, an aged MC, the willingness to work with really large customers and extend credit lines, insurance, they're overinsured, they have a lot to offer an agent, as opposed to the agent going to a brokerage who has no insurance, puts a restriction on the kind of clients they can work with, and has a restriction on the kind of freight that they move. The broker that I talked to in the first scenario, who has everything, checks off all the boxes, has the right to take a larger percentage from an agent than a startup brokerage. Does that make sense? What you're aimed to be as a brokerage is a brokerage who checks off all those boxes, so that eventually when agents come along and they say, hey, I like the way you run things, I want to come on with you, let's build our books together, you're going to be able to say, sure, I'd love for that to happen. Here's our split, here's our structure, this is how we do things. If you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. On the flip side, let's look at that from the agent's perspective. If you have an agent who's been in the industry for 3 to 5 years, they have a solid book of customers, they have experience with outreach, they know the industry, they can help with operations, and you're a brokerage who doesn't have much to offer them, they could come in and they could tell you, I'm not coming to work with you unless you give me an 80-20 split or a 70-30 split, because you have no leg to stand on. Without them, you have no sales. Without you, they could just go to another brokerage who will give them what they want. So you have to work yourself, even if you're an agent right now, you have to work yourself up to a point where you can push the other parties around. All right, and there's no like cap on what point you have to be at, but you have to be confident in yourself. If you have a really big book of business and you're an agent and you're really effective and you know what you're doing, you could come into any brokerage and you can say, this is what I have to offer and bring to the table. This is the deal I want. If I don't get it, I'm walking. All right, it's just like no different than buying a car. If you walk in there and you have flexibility in your price and you really want the car today and you don't want to leave without one, and you show the salesman that, they're going to say, look, here's the deal, sign on the dotted line, or you can go elsewhere and I'll sell the car to the person who's standing right behind you. It's the same thing. When you negotiate any deal, especially a broker agent deal, the people or the business with the most leverage wins. That's my first spiel on the whole broker agent thing. You should always aim to set up an environment that is productive for growth of an agent and productive for growth for you as a business owner. Because at the end of the day, the math has to make sense or nothing's gonna work out. If you bring on a bunch of agents at a high split and you're over leveraged there, you're just gonna go out of business because you're not gonna be able to hire any back office personnel to support the workload. And I'm gonna get into what that means in a second. Something that I see all the time on LinkedIn, especially a lot of Facebook groups, forums, is that a brokerage who takes more than a 70-30 split from an agent is greedy and it's not a good agent program. Whether that is your opinion or not, that's fine. If you're an agent, I'm sure you'd love to get a 70-30 split. brokerages, some of them brag about giving 70-30 splits. And what I say to those brokerages is you don't have any respect for yourself or your business. If you're giving away the lion's share of the revenue and profit that agents using all of your liability and your licenses and resources and back office are bringing in, then you don't have any respect for your business. Nobody's going to respect you, and eventually your business is going to crumble. The biggest brokerages in the industry do not do 70-30 splits, and that is why they are the biggest brokerages in the industry. I don't want to say any carriers by name, whatever, but there's a carrier who I know for a fact is a multi-billion-dollar company. They're publicly traded, and I talk with many of their agents, and they take 50%. No questions asked. If you want to be an agent for them, you want access to their carrier pool, they're taking 50%. And that's how we operate too. The lowest that will usually go, we start out at 30. The way we run things has been done very well for our agents, but the highest that will go is usually 50, and that depends on a lot of other factors too. The risk that we take on with customers, the insurance that we have to provide for the customers, the back office support that we're lending, right? There's a bunch of different things that go into what an agent split should be. You should never have something that's just down the board and say, if you're an agent, you come in here, you get 70%. It just doesn't work like that. And now let's talk about the math a little bit on a 70-30 split before I get into how you should structure things. If you have an agent on a 70-30 split, there should be some kind of back office support. Otherwise, why is the agent even coming on with you? They should just open up their own brokerage. For every $1,000 that agent makes, you're giving them $700, and you're putting $300 in your pocket. So now they get 10 loads, you made $3,000, they made $7,000. That's great for the agent. In order to afford half of the salary of a minimum wage employee, that agent has to bring in 100 loads, making at least $1,000 a piece. Do you understand how difficult that is? Do you understand how many agents you need to have a profitable brokerage if you're giving away $700 for every $1,000 that comes in? That means that you need to have at least 1,000 loads. Yeah, 1,000 loads. I think it's 1,000 loads will get you near $100,000 profit. And then with that $100,000, take out the 30% tax, corporate tax. Hopefully you live in Florida or something where there's no income tax. And now you have $70,000. When are you gonna pay yourself? When do you pay yourself if you have an agent with a 70 split and a 30 split, right? The agent has no expenses. All the agent is doing is bringing in business, and then you're supposed to run the back office and provide support and training and help clear customers, do credit checks, provide accounting, do collections. Like, you're doing all of this stuff, right? You're providing value there. And the agent is just booking freight. They're calling, they're doing a great job, right? Agents are essential. I love agents. Wouldn't be anywhere without agents, and good ones. But 70-30 solves their problem, but it doesn't solve yours. So if you're watching this from the perspective of a brokerage owner and you're doing a 70-30 split, you're not gonna last very long. Or you're gonna bring on a bunch of agents and they're going to leave because you're not gonna be able to afford a good back office support for them. So they're gonna be getting 70-30, but your brokerage operations is just gonna suck. And then they're just gonna leave and go to another one that'll give them 70-30. You're not even gonna have any money to chase them and sue them for taking the book of business, right? If you had a non-compete, whatever it is. So you're just gonna be screwed. That's just how it works. The maximum that you can go on an agent long-term and ensure profitability for the business is about 60-40. That's the maximum that I can see. And that is predicated on minimal back office support from you. Because remember, you have to fund the assistance that you give them in the back office. You have to pay for dispatchers. You have to pay for accounting people. You have to pay for insurances. Who takes the liability if it's claims? So if you're an agent right now watching this and you have a 70-30 split, I would advise you to go back and read your contract, and I would look for a few things. There would be red flags in my book. If the brokerage makes you responsible for collecting money, if the brokerage makes you personally responsible for the full value of claims, that's a red flag. If the brokerage makes you responsible for helping collect debts that they cleared, that's a red flag. All right, so a lot of you agents that may be watching this and have 70-30 splits maybe didn't read or didn't understand the contract that was given to them. In our brokerage, for example, Agents are not responsible for invoices that are unpaid if we said it was okay to do them. Right, so if they came in and they said, oh, I have this customer, they want to give us $1 million of work. We'll say you can take up to 100,000, that's what we're comfortable with, and then we have to monitor them a little bit. So if we take $100,000 in work at that point and the company that we approved goes out of business, we're SOL, right? We're out of luck. Nothing we can do. We approved it. It was our fault. We didn't do good risk mitigation. Brokerages who do 70-30 splits, I guarantee you in their clauses, it says that if your customers can't pay them due to financial insolvency, that you will be responsible for paying with future commissions, right? So they'll hit your commissions coming in forward, if they can even pay you on time. Another thing that they do with the 70-30 split agent programs is they make you responsible for claims. A brokerage can't function if they take full liability for all claims that agents bring in, right? At the end of the day, an agent is a contractor. There is a give and take scenario here. As a brokerage owner, I can't tell a contractor what to do. The whole agreement is based off of good faith, right? And that's why we're so picky about the agents that we bring on. That's why you need to be picky about the agents that you bring on. But the proper way to do things is to mirror the liability based on the split. So if you have a 70-30 split, a fair liability would be if there's a claim, you're responsible for 70% of it, the broker is responsible for 30% of it. If the brokerage is any good at negotiating claims, you won't have to pay anything out. But it does happen sometimes, right? We've had to pay out our fair share of claims just to make customers happy, even though sometimes, brokerages just really aren't liable for damages that are caused by carrier negligence. It's in the law, it's in the CFR. You can't always explain that to a customer. If they file a claim, sometimes you gotta pay it. So at our brokerage, if our split with you is 40-60, 40 to you, 60 to us, we're gonna cover 60% of that claim, you gotta cover 40% of the claim. And we usually do it in a way where you're still bringing money in rather than just hitting your whole paycheck until you reach that 40-60%. Because some claims can be up there, $80,000, $100,000, depending on the product that we're moving. In conclusion, if I have to summarize this whole thing up, I'm gonna give you 2 points, one from the brokerage owner perspective, one from the agent perspective. If you're an agent, you are better off looking for a solid deal between 40, 50, 60%, max 60%. I would even just stop it at 50% at a well-established brokerage with an aged MC, insurance, no restrictions on the type of freight that they move, and a solid record and history of serving high-profile clients. Because it's no use in going to a brokerage who's gonna deny the clients that you bring in. All right, that's from an agent perspective. You're better off finding a low commission, lower, at a well-established brokerage than a low commission at a brokerage who doesn't know how to run things. If you're a brokerage owner and you're just starting out, the only way you're going to be able to attract talent is to have that high commission baseline. The most I recommend you go is 60%. And with that 60%, you have to commit yourself to over-serving your agents. Anything that they need, you need to get them. They don't want to pay for that, you pay for it. They need a TMS, you buy it. They need a CRM, you buy it. You need to foster a community of growth for your agents in order to make it so hard for them to leave because they love working with you. If you steal from them, if you shortchange them, if you give them a hard time, they're just gonna go somewhere else. There's plenty of brokerages out there who don't play by strict and unreasonable rules that they can go and find and really do well and exceed at. If you're just starting out, you're gonna be at that 60% range. If you've been going for a few years, you know what the heck you're doing and you have your own book of business yourself, we're gonna take that down and we're gonna start our negotiations at 40%. 40%, the max you're gonna go is 50%. Reason being is you have something to bring to the table, you have your own book of business, and you have the ability to provide that back office support that the agent doesn't want to have to deal with. They don't want to deal with the licenses, the insurance, the liability, the credit checks, things like that, floating receivables and payables. You take care of all that for them, and in exchange, they give you that extra 10, 20% of their profits. A brokerage can stay profitable if you're splitting the profits at 50-50. I promise you. That's how we do it. That's how we've done it for a very long time. With a mix of agents at 50% plus house accounts where you're taking in 100%, right? Because you should have your own book of business before you start dabbling in growing a bunch of agents, then you can set yourself on pace for a profitable brokerage. Now, I hope you enjoyed this rant. I'd love to know if you agree with me, disagree with me. Are the 70-30 brokers the only ones that's doing it right? Are the 50% brokers like me thieves and greedy? I'd love to duke it out with you in the comments, so feel free to comment down below. If you enjoyed this video and it helped you at all, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any more freight broker rants, tips, tricks, videos that we put out on a weekly basis. All right, so until the next video, I'll see you soon, and good luck hiring your agents. Agents, good luck finding a good home to work for your brokerage. Talk to you soon.